These are good people to learn how to groove from. Speaking of Bootsy, got the chance to record with him recently for my Yin Yang project. And, you know, at the time we were recording, we didn't know what it was going to be for. I just happened to find myself in his town, in his hometown. And J.D. Blair, who plays drums with me most of the time, is just he's a Parliament, you know, freak, you know, Funkadelics. And I'm a Bootsy fan back from James Brown and the Parliament days. And we said, well, let's just see if we can get a hold of Bootsy. And we located his number and called him up and actually got him on the phone. It was great. I said, hello, Bootsy. You know, I didn't really know what to call him. Hello, Bootsy. This is Victor Wooten. How you doing? He said, oh, everything's on the one, baby. And I was like, yeah, this is Bootsy. I was trying to be cool, though. I really was. I was trying, okay, yeah. But in my insides, I was jumping. I'm talking to Bootsy. You know, I'm still a kid when it comes to these guys. But he invited us to his house. So we went to Bootsy's house, JD and myself and our engineer, sound man, Kurt Story. And we just went into Bootsy's studio and just played around. You know, he said, man, let's just record something. So JD and I had a groove that we had played around with at sound check. And so, you know, he said, yeah, let's put that down. Just put that down. You play it. So JD and I went in there and played. And Bootsy had me play all the bass. And he was just being Bootsy in the background, coming up with these great lines. And at one point he said, instead of saying what time it is, he was telling me that I was committing a crime on the bass. You know, he's saying, what crime is it, baby? You know, that's what crime it is. And that's what wound up on the record. You know, that's what crime it is. And we just thought it was the greatest. So it's me playing bass, but Bootsy's just, you know, putting the real flavor all over it. He's just a great person, you know. He just really welcomed us into his household. And he even played some stuff for me, you know. And so just being in his presence, you know, it's almost like it's full circle. You know, I grow up listening to this guy, and here I am at his house. You know, it's definitely a dream come true. And I'm grateful for Bootsy, to Bootsy, just for all he's done, not just for me, but for the bass world in general. I know that I wouldn't be here, at least not in this way, if it weren't for Bootsy. So I thank him for that. Great. A lot of people that inspire me that aren't bass players. And I think it's important to get inspiration outside of your instrument, and even outside of music if you can. My parents, I would have to start there. My parents are very, very inspiring people. They are people that will get anything done. Whatever has to be done, they will get it done. They don't feel that they have to go outside of the household or something. Good example, I remember one day we needed more space in our bedroom because I always shared a room with Joseph and Rudy. And we were getting big at this time, you know. So my mom said, you guys need a triple bunk bed. So I was like, okay, where are we going to get it? She went to the wood store, came home with some wood, some nails, and just before the day was over, we had a triple bunk bed. And I'm like, man, you know, I mean, and growing up with a mom and a dad that way, you know, has really inspired me. So I take that to the stage. You know, people have seen me break a string. Some people have seen my strap break in the middle of a show and my bass hits the ground. And I'm like, well, that's now part of the performance. Let's go with it. It's improvising. And my parents are some of the best improvisers I know. And I don't mean with music, but with life. And improvising just means making do with what you have. You know, you don't have to have rehearsed it. My mom had never made a bunk bed before, you know. My dad had never booked a band before. When we were 5, I was 5 and Reggie was 13, and he starts booking us with Curtis Mayfield and all these people. They didn't know how to do it, but they also didn't know how not to do it. And they did it. And so I take that to the stage. So my inspiration would start there. Filters down to my brothers. my brothers took after my parents. They were the same way. They are the same way. And so for me, being the youngest of the 5 brothers, it's like I had 7 parents, or 6 parents rather, my 4 brothers and my mom and my dad. They brought me up in that fashion of being an improviser. You know, and again, when I use the word improvising, I don't just mean with music. That's how you can get inspired from anywhere. Bruce Lee is another big influence. You know, I've been in the martial arts since I was a kid, but to see someone like Bruce Lee gain control over himself so much that he could control anyone else, you know, and not even have to hurt them, that's amazing. You know, that's self-control. And I've always been a self-control person, wanting to know everything about myself and be able to control myself. So I take influence from Bruce Lee and bring that to the stage. Anyone that has that much control and over themselves to where they start making everybody else better. I love people that are doing that. Michael Jordan is a prime example. Tiger Woods is a prime example. All the musicians that I stated earlier are prime examples. And it's because they have gotten so good that it allows us to get better. And so that brings me to probably one of the biggest influences now is the people that I see starting to play music now. Like these great bass players that I see coming up. You know, and maybe they're not doing much yet, but I can just see their potential. Because of Stanley Clarke, because of Jocko, because of Bootsy, because of Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Bruce Lee, Tiger Woods, all these kind of people, because of them, it's made me a better musician. So I can see that the better I get, the better the next generation is going to get. So, you know, if I can work really hard, it's just going to help the next generation. So that's a big influence. And that really keeps me going, keeps me practicing. But at the same time, you know, I think about birds. I go out and I hear a robin singing a song, or a chickadee, or a blue jay, or whatever, or even just a crow, you know, that seems to be screaming. But if you listen close, their screams mean something. Where did they learn that? You know, who taught them that stuff? You know, music school, you know, bird singing school, you know, where did they get it? And so that's inspiring to me. Some kind of way they're self-taught. They're pulling this stuff out of somewhere. It's like out of this void, you know. But when it comes to music, if I want to learn to play bass, I think I have to go get lessons. How did the animals do it? That's inspiring thought. You know, lessons are good, but there's a lot inside of us that can be pulled out. And I learned that, you know, you get to a point like Michael Jordan and these guys, gets to a point where there's not a whole lot someone else can teach them. You know, after they've passed all their teachers, they've learned what the teachers have to say, which is important. You got to go inside at a certain point and start pulling your own self out of yourself. I hope that makes sense. That's inspiring. That's self-inspiration. And I think that's the ultimate inspiration. When I was about 5 years old, maybe 6, which means my oldest brother Reggie was 8 years older than me at the time. I can't remember who it was, but someone saw us playing, you know, Reggie, Roy, and Rudy, and Joseph, and myself playing as the Wooten brothers. And they liked it, and they got us to do a mini tour, a small tour opening for Curtis Mayfield. This was when we were living in California, so Sacramento, Oakland, that area. And I look back on it now, especially now that I have kids, and I think, man, how many parents would, you know, book their 5-year-olds and their 13-year-olds on this tour, you know. But anyway, we're playing some original music, some Jackson 5, some Motown, a lot of James Brown, Sly Stone, and we're doing these shows. And I mean, to us, we weren't kids. In our mind, we were just musicians, you know. So we got to relate with their musicians. And one of the things that I take from Curtis Mayfield And I often hear my brothers talk about it. And it didn't dawn on me till I was much older.